Hi everybody and welcome back to another lazy but smart Sinhala video tutorial. I'm Dilshan and this is episode 5, The Language You Speak, part 1. Here's what we covered in episode 4. I showed you some new personal pronouns and you now know that we is api, plural you is oyala, they is eala, formal you is oba, and the plural of formal you is obala. We then went on to see the possessives of these personal pronouns and you learned that our is ape, the plural your is oyalage, there is ealage, the formal your is obage, and the plural of the formal your is obalage. In section 3, we saw the word for age, which was vayasa, and we used this to ask, what is your age? Which was oyage vayasa kiyada. And in the last section, we learned how to say my age is 30, which was mage vayasa tihai. In this episode, we're going to start by learning how to create present tense sentences, and we'll do this using the verb doing as an example. Here I'll show you the Sinhala word for doing as well as how to make the sentence I am doing. We'll use this knowledge in section 2 to do the same thing, but we'll use the verb speaking as an example instead. And I'll show you how to make the sentence I am speaking as well as I speak. In section 3, you learn how to tell someone the language you speak, and as an example, you learn to say I speak English. And finally, in section 4, I'll show you how to ask someone if they speak a specific language, and as an example, you learn to ask, do you speak English? Okay, let's get right into it. Section 1. Creating present tense sentences using doing, learning to say I am doing. The first verb we'll look at is the verb doing. There's a sneaky reason why I've chosen doing, and it'll become clear to you by the end of section 2. The Sinhala word for doing is karanava. Karanava. Just in this episode alone, we'll be using it around 40 times, so remembering it will be completely effortless for you. Let's learn how to create the sentence I am doing. Notice that this word ends with the character nava. You might remember that we've previously seen another word that had the same ending, and that was back in episode 1 when we learned to say mama honding innava, which meant I am fine. Well, strictly speaking, if you dig a little deeper, this sentence actually means I am being fine because the word innava means being. I didn't mention it since it was not important for the first lesson. In fact, the verb innava is not even needed for this lesson, which is why I won't add it to the sidebar. Now also notice that when we said I am being fine, the word am was implied, which makes the sentence literally read I being fine. Similarly, when we say I am doing, we now know that the word am will be implied and that we need to create a sentence that literally reads I doing. This now becomes too easy. You just replace I with mama and you've got yourself the sentence mama karanava, which means I am doing. Now let's look at how we could say you are doing. Remember that when we said you are fine and he or she is fine, we just added the correct personal pronouns to say oya honding innava and ea honding innava. And now we will do exactly the same thing. So, you are doing will be oya karanava and he or she is doing is ea karanava. Then, what if we wanted to replace these words with their plurals? Exactly like in English, the verb stays the same even when we use plurals. For example, when we say I am doing or we are doing, the verb doing is not modified at all. This means that to say we are doing, we can just replace mama with api to say api karanava. You are doing using the plural you is oyala karanava and they are doing is eala karanava. And finally, to use the actual name of a person and say that Ricky is doing, it would be Ricky karanava. Section 2. Creating present tense sentences using speaking. Learning to say I am speaking. Here's why I chose karanava as your first verb. In Sinhala, Karanava is very often used in compound words. A compound word is made when two separate words join together to create a new word with a new meaning. An example in English would be to add the word wrong to the word doing to create the new word wrongdoing. Let's now look at two Sinhala examples like this. And since these are just examples, you don't need to remember any of these words for the episode, and once again, I won't add them to the sidebar. The word vada means work as a noun. But when you add the word karanava, we create the new word vada karanava, which in Sinhala means working. It is equivalent to saying doing work. Second example, the word padam means studies as a noun. But when you add the word karanava, we create the new word padam karanava, which in Sinhala means studying. It is equivalent to saying doing studies. Similarly, the word kata means speech as a noun, but when you add the word karanava, we create the new word kata karanava, which in Sinhala means speaking. It is equivalent to saying doing speech. Now, like how we did with karanava, I am speaking will be mama kata karanava, you are speaking will be oya kata karanava, he or she is speaking will be eya kata karanava, and Ricky is speaking will be Ricky kata karanava. Let's now learn how to say I speak. Let's first be clear on the difference. I am speaking indicates an action that is happening now. The person is speaking now. On the other hand, I speak indicates an action that happens regularly. The person speaks regularly and not just in this moment. You'll notice that so far we only have been looking at verbs that indicate an action that is happening now. So now here's something that should make you very happy. In English, the present tense verb is modified depending on if it's an action that is A, happening now, or B, happens regularly. Example of happening now, I am speaking. And to convert this into an action that happens regularly, we modify the word speaking to speak. The great news is, in Sinhala, the verb is not modified in either situation. The verb always stays the same regardless if the person doing the action is singular, plural, male or female. So what does this mean for us? It means that things just got really simple because each of these sentences could also be used to indicate an action that happens regularly, which more importantly for us means we don't need to learn anything new. So, mama kata karna can be used for I am speaking or I speak. Oya kata karna can be used for you are speaking or you speak. Eya kata karna can be used for he or she is speaking or he or she speaks. And Ricky kata karna can be used for Ricky is speaking or Ricky speaks. In order to transition into the next section, let's just focus on I speak, you speak, he or she speaks, and Ricky speaks. Section 3. Telling someone the language you speak. Learning to say I speak English. The Sinhala word for English is Ingrisi. Ingrisi. So to say I speak English, all we just do is squeeze in the word Ingrisi between the personal pronoun mama and the verb kata karnava to say mama Ingrisi kata karnava. Similarly, you speak English is oya Ingrisi kata karnava. He or she speaks English is eya Ingrisi kata karnava. And Ricky speaks English is Ricky Ingrisi kata karnava. Section 4. Asking someone if they speak a specific language. For the moment, let's focus only on the sentence Oya Ingrisi kata karnava, which means you speak English. This right here is a statement. You saw in episode 3 that to convert a statement into a question, we simply add the to the end of the statement. So to convert the statement you speak English into the question do you speak English, we simply add the to the end, making it Oya Ingrisi kata karnava de. Getting back to our other sentences, to ask does he or she speak English, we would add the to the end to ask Eya Ingrisi kata karnava de. And to ask does Ricky speak English, we would add the to the end to ask Ricky Ingrisi kata karnava de. We could also use the formal you, which we haven't used in this episode so far. in order to say the statement, you speak English. And this would be, ඔබ ඉංග්‍රීසි කතා කරනවා. To convert this statement into the question, do you speak English? We simply add the to the end, making it ඔබ ඉංග්‍රීසි කතා කරනවාද? Let's finish up this episode by using the plurals of these words. So, ඔබලා ඉංග්‍රීසි කතා කරනවාද means do you speak English using the formal and plural you. ඔයාලා ඉංග්‍රීසි කතා කරනවාද means do you speak English using the plural you. And එයාලා ඉංග්‍රීසි කතා කරනවාද means do they speak English. And now we can change the language from English to any other language we want. Let's take Sinhala. The Sinhala word for Sinhala is also Sinhala. So just by replacing Ingrisi with Sinhala, we can say ඔබලා සිංහල කතා කරනවාද, meaning do you speak Sinhala using the formal and plural you. ඔයාලා සිංහල කතා කරනවාද, meaning do you speak Sinhala using the plural you. And finally, එයාලා සිංහල කතා කරනවාද, meaning do they speak Sinhala. I will put up a list on the blog where you can look up the Sinhala names of other languages. And that's it for today. As usual, let's recap what you've learned at the end of this episode. You now know that in Sinhala, doing is කරනවා and I am doing as well as I do is මම කරනවා. We then replaced mama with other pronouns and saw that the verb was never modified. I won't be reading these examples out again, but go ahead and pause the video if you want to quickly go through them. We then learned that in the Sinhala language, the word කරනවා is used in several compound words, and one such compound word is the word for speaking, which is කතා කරනවා. We also saw that I am speaking as well as I speak is මම කතා කරනවා. We then replaced mama with other pronouns and again saw that the verb was never modified. We then went on to learn to say I speak English, where we just squeezed in the word ඉංග්‍රීසි to say මම ඉංග්‍රීසි කතා කරනවා. And we replaced mama with all the other pronouns and saw that the verb was never modified regardless of it being singular, plural, male or female. And at the end, we learned to ask, do you speak English? By just adding the to the end to ask, ඔයා ඉංග්‍රීසි කතා කරනවාද? And like before, we used it with other pronouns and saw that the verb once again was never modified. We finished up by learning that you can replace İngilizce with the Sinhala name for any language and use it on any of the sentences we saw before. I'm excited about the next episode since it'll be a special wrap-up episode that will be available only to subscribers of the Lazy But Smart Sinhala blog. The episode will put everything we learned from episodes 1 through 5 into one little easy package. I will give you a breakdown of the most important words, phrases, grammar rules, and of course the Lazy But Smart tips. I'll also show you my tricks on how to leverage them to maximize their use, and as a bonus for making it this far in the series, I'll give you a free PDF that you can use for your future reference. If you haven't signed up yet, head over to the Lazy But Smart Sinhala blog by clicking on the link mentioned in the description box. Also remember to check out the extras of episode 5 by clicking on this link. The link for the lists of languages is also in the description box below. Thanks for listening, and at the end of this 5th episode, I hope you're getting more comfortable with the Sinhala language. Take care everyone and talk to you soon.